Welcome to Seeking the Overlap, the podcast where we're creating a more connected world, one conversation at a time. I'm connection strategist, professional friend maker, and your host, Baily Hancock. Have you ever felt like you're constantly moving through life without really checking in on how you're doing? In a world that celebrates productivity and external success, it's easy to forget the importance of connecting with ourselves. But what if the key to feeling more grounded, more fulfilled, and more balanced lies in something as simple as deepening that internal relationship? My guest today is Jazzmyn Proctor, a dedicated therapist and attachment coach who specializes in just that, helping people reconnect with themselves. With a passion for holistic personal growth, Jazzmyn specializes in supporting individuals on their unique life journeys. Through her work, Jazzmyn creates a safe space for clients to explore all aspects of themselves. Her podcast, All Our Parts, serves as a platform to delve into the diverse experiences that shape our identities. In this episode, we'll dive into why self-connection is so crucial, how to build trust with yourself, and the transformative power of understanding your internal dialogue. We'll also explore how to balance reflection with the demands of life, the joy of discovering new hobbies, and the importance of evaluating your relationships. If you're ready to bring more intention and self-awareness into your life so you can connect more deeply with yourself and others, stick around because this conversation is for you. Hello, Jazzmyn. Welcome to Seeking the Overlap.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
I could not be more excited myself because you represent a conversation that I've been dying to have on this show, which is the ability to connect with yourself. So excited to ask you how one actually does that. But first, let's get to know you as a human being a little bit better with our segment, 3 Truths, No Lies. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Let's do it. Question 1. It's recess in elementary school. What are you doing?
Foursquare.
Foursquare. Oh, God, I don't even know if I remember how to play Foursquare, but that was such an integral part of elementary school.
It's the best. It's you get in the king spot and then you just ride the wave.
Question 2. What is your favorite way to escape? Be that physically, mentally, emotionally. What's your
M-
go-to?
Music. 100%.
What kind of genre are we talking here?
It depends. I love all genres: country, rap, hip hop, pop. I've been loving the pop music lately. And so that's been my morning walk playlist. R&B, whatever I'm feeling, I really find like the vibration of the music allows me to go exactly where I need to go.
Hmm. Are you a lay on the floor and listen to music person, or do you like to get out and walk and move your body?
Lay down. I like that stillness. It's not something
Yeah.
that I've always been able to accomplish. So now being able to just lay on the floor, lay on the couch, let the music play, light a candle is so relaxing.
Question 3. What is a book, movie, or TV series you've watched multiple times?
Myth Congeniality.
I'll say more. Is there a reason?
I I love it because Sandra Bullock's amazing.
Sold.
But there is something about the story of just women coming together. Women who are supposed to be in competition with one another, who are supposed to one up the other person, but it ends up really being a story about friendship. And it ends up being about Sandra Bullock's character learning how to be a girl's girl, but also other women welcoming her and not being threatened by her strength. So I just love it's just so fun. It's so lighthearted. And there is so many layers to the movie that I think can be easily missed because it's a comedy.
I think that deserves a rewatch as an adult woman. Back when that came out, you didn't often get to see women supporting women. And it's interesting. It's like she was basically going from being very in her masculine to embracing her feminine and finding
Yes.
strength in the feminine as opposed
Hmm.
to being very surface level, which is pageants represent. Damn, that's way deep, actually. Most of my interviews for season 1 have revolved around connecting with others, which is obviously deeply important and a huge component of what I teach and talk about and think about and care about. And I do believe that you cannot fully connect with others on a deep level until you know who you are. Seeking
Mm.
the Overlap is about finding the connection points between you and other people in that overlapping piece on the Venn diagram. But if you don't know what's in your circle, how are you going to know what's in both of your circles? How does self connection influence one's relationship with others?
When we think about our relationship to ourselves, we think about our internal dialogue. So, how do we speak to ourselves? And a lot of times that internal dialogue gets projected out externally. And so, when we are finding ourselves to be very hypocritical and we're finding ourselves to be very judgmental of others, we need to take a look in the mirror because we're typically also judging and critiquing ourselves that harshly. It also even how we take care of ourselves. And so if we are finding ourselves commenting on how other people are taking care of themselves, that might be something that we're missing in our lives. Like maybe we need more rest, or maybe we prioritize hustle so much that we don't allow ourselves to take some time to have gratitude for what we have right in front of us. And so our relationship to largely influences how we engage with our external reality.
No big deal.
Yeah.
Are most people you talk to super aware of that, or are they missing that and thinking the world is just against them or everything is very external?
Honestly, I don't think we think about our relationship to ourselves enough as a relationship. We think we exist as an individual, as a person, and we are moving on autopilot in our body, talking, walking, working, living life, but we don't necessarily think of our relationship to ourselves. And even in my own therapy, like showing up, I didn't always think, oh, I have a relationship with myself that I need to cultivate. I need to be nicer to myself. I need to nurture myself. It is something I have to build trust with myself. We don't always think about the actionable steps that we take in our other relationships with our relationship to ourselves. And so it's a really jarring concept when I'll turn the mirror back and ask them to reflect on the relationship to themselves. And a lot of times they say, I didn't even know that was a thing.
Because you're you, and it's almost like a given that
Hmm.
you are with you. So maybe there's that idea that you don't have to try or you put effort towards it because you're stuck with you. And what does that even mean? You with you? How many of us are there? I never considered the idea of people having different inner monologues.
A lot of times we don't think about how our internal voices influenced. A lot of our internal dialogue is not just us, especially as adults. It is TV, media, it is the people we surround ourselves with, our partners, our friends, our bosses. All of these people can influence our internal dialogue if we let them. And then that's where it takes dismantling the internal dialogue and saying, okay, what is me and what is theirs? What's mine? And
Ugh,
asking ourselves that question. And it's amazing how much isn't ours.
no kidding. I mean, that's a question that I've been asking myself definitely more frequently the older I get. But I think once I probably hit mid 30s, it was a record scratch. Wait, hold on. Is this even mine? Is this an original thought, or is this programming or society's expectations? What do I actually believe? What do
Yeah.
I actually want? And I think I was definitely the overachiever, super ambitious, daughter of an alcoholic, eldest daughter, all of the tropes. It's, hi, yes, those are me, 100%. And it wasn't until about that time where I was like, "Oh my god, am I just an archetype of this
Mhm.
persona, or what of that can I choose to take with me from this point forward, and what of it can I, like, drop here and then just let that be what it was?" And it's unsettling, but it's also, I think, one of the greatest gifts you can give yourself to do that pause and reflect around, "What is mine? What do I want to
Mhm.
keep? What do I wanna leave behind?"
Yeah. I often think about especially if I'm in a really critical place, like if I am just really picking at myself, I'll stop and ask myself, did you talk to yourself that way when you were a child? A
Mm.
lot of times the answer is no. And I'm like, so where did this come from? And both stopping myself and asking me that question allows me to hold space for younger me. And it allows me to say, no, Jasmine, you growing up, you knew you were inherently whole. You knew that you were enough, that achievement was not the reason that people sought you out. And you can just be you. And when I go back to that place, so much of it just melts away.
Mm. The inner child work, the parts work, all of that has been so helpful for me. But the untangling takes effort and intention and time and energy. How does one create that for themselves when it feels like there are so many conflicting priorities in life, and self-reflection can almost feel, at least this is the way it's perceived, like self-indulgent or selfish. I don't believe
Mm.
that, but if for the people that are like, okay, who has the damn time to do all this pausing and reflecting, what do you say?
First, I say that's valid. I know I always don't like working on myself, and I've been with the same therapist for 4 years. And so, do we have to work on this? Do you have to call me out? Do you have to hold me accountable? And so, the fatigue of improvement is one thing, and that is a very valid feeling. I think allowing ourselves to take it one step at a time and maybe picking a specific aspect in our life that we want to improve and focusing on that can really alleviate the pressure of trying to rebuild Rome in a day. Because a lot of times when we're healing one area, we like to see how it transfers into all areas of our lives. And that's when we get overwhelmed because we start nitpicking at every single aspect of our life and we don't leave space to just enjoy it.
Mm.
And so if you want to be more intentional about your relationship to yourself, maybe start with focusing on hobbies, something light, something fun.
The amount of women I have in my life who are like, hobby? What is this word again? Does mental health walks count as, can we stack our self development as hobbies? It can be a little overwhelming because it's, again, who has the time?
Yeah,
But you need the time. You got to do it.
you got to make the time.
Uh, if you were going to start in that area, what's a good place to begin?
Inner child is a great place sometimes, but also first letting go of this idea that you are who you were a year ago,
Ugh.
5 years ago. A lot of people say, oh, I used to love running and now I go and run and I absolutely hate it. Okay. You now hates running. So maybe exploring a dance class or a Pilates class or core power class and allowing yourself to be curious with the various other ways that you can engage in body movement. If the goal is body movement, recognizing that running is not the only way. And it's not a moral failing that you've changed. It's not a failure that you don't enjoy running anymore. It's part of life that we evolve, that our interests change, some stay the same. But we're meant to engage with our curiosity, with who we are as people and how we grow. The hobby that I really enjoy is pickleball. I was an athlete growing up. And so working out as I got older just became harder because the gym is boring. I don't like walking on the treadmill and I don't feel super motivated to work out alone. So when I moved to the city and saw that there were a lot of leagues that I could join, I was like, let me just play pickleball. And I play it like twice a week. I love it. I look forward to it. It's a highlight of my week. But that's because I allowed myself to say, okay, Jazzmyn, you don't have to like the gym. And I know everyone's posting, go to the gym at 5:30 in the morning, go to the gym
No,
six
thank
days a
you.
week. It's okay to do something different. And that's part of learning yourself and getting to know who you are.
I'm glad that you brought up the idea of you can no longer like something you used to like. Like a past you loved that thing, this current you no longer does. One of the best connection points is
Mhm.
interests and hobbies. And often people will start to list out things and then stop and be like, I guess I used to be an athlete, but that's actually been 20 years ago. So am I
Mm.
even still that? How frequently do you think people should pause self reflection, checking in with themselves in terms of who they are today versus who they were before? Because I find people's perception of themselves are often pretty outdated.
Mm. Whenever it stops bringing you joy, but another key component to building a relationship with yourself is learning how to trust yourself.
Mm.
And so if you do not trust that your body, that your mind, that your heart is giving you signals that you need to pivot, that you need to try something new, you don't trust that, you're not going to listen to it. And therefore, you're going to box yourself in to this idea of who you were or idea of who you think you should be versus trusting the signals and allowing yourself to explore. Rebuilding your trust with yourself is critical in having a fulfilled relationship with yourself.
What are some practical steps that people can take to start building a more honest and trustworthy relationship with themselves?
I always tell people to start with the easy stuff without looking for validation or correction from other people. And that could be, do I want to stay in today or go out to the park? You don't need to ask your partner. You don't need to ask a friend. You don't need to text in the group chat, hey, what should I do today? Just say, you know what? I feel like going to the park. Get up and go to the park. When we're able to trust that the instinct is true for us, when we're able to do that and make that choice with the smaller things, it gets easier with the larger choices. What hobbies do I want? What kind of relationships do I want in my life? But starting from square one.
It's interesting you say, what kind of relationships do I want in my life? Because that's a question I've been asking myself a lot. I have so many circles of friends. I've always had a lot of groups, not a tight inner circle. And as I've gotten older, I've started to like myself more. I've started to
Mhm.
feel like I know myself more, and I'm far more comfortable being by myself, almost to the point where the idea of being in a room full of people no longer feels really good. What do you do when you get to a place where you're like, are the people that I've surrounded myself with still the people that I want to keep surrounding myself with? And, or is it okay to start bringing in people that feel more aligned to who I am today versus who I've been? And how does one reconcile those existing relationships with this more current version of who you are?
First, sitting with all the uncomfortable feelings that comes with evaluating a friendship circle and recognizing that there might be people in it that have served their purpose. They have served their time and they are no longer aligned with the life journey that you're on. It's so valuable every once in a while to just take inventory because I believe any contact that I have with someone, any relationship that I have with a person is an energetic exchange for me. And so
Me too.
I really check in with myself and say, is this something I really want? And I haven't always been there. Like I have wasted my own time. Plenty of times I have been in rooms with people that I should have bid farewell sooner rather than later. But really checking in and seeing how I feel when I'm around somebody. If I find myself leaving feeling like, "Oh, I guess till next time, or I'm feeling some resent or
Mm.
frustration over the interaction, that is my telltale sign. That doesn't mean I necessarily need to throw the relationship away. I might need to reevaluate the kinds of contact I have with that person. Maybe it's strictly grab dinner every once in a while and call. Maybe we don't need to text. Maybe we don't have phone calls. Or maybe it is a relationship that has served its time and it's expired. But being able to check in, sit with the discomfort of that, to sit and say, wow, I really value this person. And I hate that this relationship is changing, or I hate that I'm leaving feeling this way after we interact. Allowing ourselves to sit in that space first and then being able to say, well, I also deserve to be around people that give me energy, who celebrate me, who support me, who challenge me in a constructive way, who are truly in my corner. I deserve to cultivate that space for myself as well, because if we're constantly thinking about other people over ourselves, we're going to find ourselves in a lot of dissatisfying situations.
You said frustration. And that's definitely the feeling I get. It comes back to this idea of what is in your overlap. If your overlap used to be really big because of circumstances, it's usually
Mhm.
that, right? It's like, oh,
Mhm.
we're at the same school, or we're in the same circle of friends, or we work at
Yep.
the same company. And then those circumstances change and that's not true anymore. And you find that your overlap is really skinny all of a sudden. And it's, is
Mm.
there even anything in there? I think that this also goes back to the idea of staying current on who you are and the things that interest you and your pursuits and your goals in life. And then finding a way too to even keep people up on that. I think that's an interesting component. It's like you have all this inner work that you can do, but are you keeping your relationships abreast of this evolved version of you?
Yeah.
What are some good ideas for how you can keep relationships alive as you evolve? Is there a
Mm.
way to nudge them to evolve with you or let the people that you do want to maintain a relationship with, but you're just feeling it's a little stagnant or stale or outdated? How do you keep them current on who the you of today has become?
I mean, if it's a relationship that you believe offers that reciprocity, have a conversation and being able to say, hey, I don't like that. I feel this way when I'm around you. Or I don't like how you commented on this last week. And being able to have transparent conversations with your friends is what allows the relationship to grow deeper. I'm almost skeptical when people say they don't have conflict with their friends because then I'm like, so then it's surface level and you just hang out and talk about TV or whatever. Conflict is a very natural aspect of any relationship. Disagreeing with somebody, kept picking up on a tone that maybe you misread, or picking up on a tone that you read correctly and you want to explore it more. But being able to sit in that discomfort with a friend and move through it is what allows the relationship to deepen. And then if the person is becoming defensive, if they're not interested in taking that accountability, then that's your sign that you get to say, okay, maybe this isn't the relationship I thought it was. And I get to now figure out what this relationship looks like moving forward. But being able to deepen those relationships that you do have, and then letting go of the notion of no new friends. Either you're not growing and changing, or like you live in a box because you are hindering yourself from making new connections and being around people that can truly help you elevate and grow and get to the next level that you want to get to.
I went through a phase of no new friends, and I think it was purely a self preservation phase,
Mhm.
which, fine, completely get that. And yet, it was definitely a very short-lived phase because, I mean, it's so woven into everything I do, which is this belief that people are portals to opportunities, to ideas, to information, inspiration. And if you're only hanging with the same portals your whole life, you're gonna cease to have new ones to walk through. And it's also a lot of pressure on the relationships you do have to continuously be everything you need them to be throughout your entire evolving life. Like, that's a lot to ask of other human beings. And on the flip side of that, yeah, if you're constantly running through relationships and you're like, no old friends, that's obviously a sign too that perhaps what are you avoiding?
Yeah.
But I think society, especially our society, has such a negative view of relationships ending, whether
Mm.
that's friendships, romantic, family. If you're no longer friends with somebody, what did you do or what did they do? Was there a breakup? And I have found that, especially in my 30s, more than any other decade, I've had many friendship fadeaways, which seem to be much more common than big explosive breakups. I've had a couple of explosive breakups too, but they likely should have or would have been a fadeaway had we both been more mature about it. But
Mhm.
now I look at fadeaways or even non explosive endings as at least one of us is honoring ourselves in that
Mm.
situation. And I've not had a situation where both of us are like, yep, this is done, shake hands, move on. It's almost always one of the other is, wait, what? How dare you? And the other one's not working for me anymore. But I think it's beautiful. I think if we could celebrate the time that we do have in friendship or romantic relationships
Yeah.
as a win, as a, okay, this was great when it was, and then it was no longer, and we both moved forward. It seems like it would relieve a lot of the pressure
Mm.
and guilt and shame around relationships ending when they do.
100%. I literally just recorded an episode with someone on friendship breakups and this idea that the end of relationships is a moral failing and
Right.
that you failed, you didn't try hard enough. And when that's not the case at all, we grow. We sometimes don't have that connecting point anymore. So we don't go to the same school. We don't go to the same parties. We don't have the same social circles anymore. And so that connecting point dwindles and then we don't have anything. So being able to have a conversation with someone and say, I'm grateful for the time that we had and I wish you well. And then our relationship maybe doesn't look the same as it did is okay.
Something that I talk about in my workshops is this idea that it's okay to prune the garden that is your relationships and your friendships. And in fact, it's a necessity if you want it to be thriving. And I think that idea of pruning or ending feels so deeply uncomfortable to a lot of people because they don't want to hurt somebody else. And I think that is extremely valid. And that says a lot about your character that you don't want to hurt somebody. And I think it's one of those things that you have to find a way to do it in a kind, caring, gentle, loving way because it is important. You can't keep maintaining a ton of friendships that are just no longer yielding fruit in your garden of relationships. And it's
Yeah.
not to say that every friendship and relationship has to be productive or has to be this very important thing in your life, but also if you only have so much time in the day and so much energy to give to other people, then it does matter that they all
Yeah.
do a little something for you. Community is a big theme in your philosophy. So, as we're talking about connecting with yourselves, pruning relationships, how can somebody deepen their connection with themselves through community? And what role does collective support play in personal healing?
I think to what we just discussed, taking inventory of the relationships that you do have in your life. Are there relationships that you have that are challenging you to step out of your comfort zone? Do you have relationships that are supporting an endeavor that might be brand new? Are you starting over somewhere? And so allowing those relationships to nourish you just as much as you nourish them is really valuable.
I do believe that internal work and reflection, like that's step one, right? Before
Mhm.
you go out there, meeting new people, connecting with others, it is a little self reflection
Mhm.
of who am I? What matters to me? What are my values? What are my likes and dislikes and current beliefs and current goals and aspirations? When somebody says to you, okay, I love that idea, but like, how am I actually doing this in a reflection? What are some tips you have for that?
I call it like dating yourself. And
Hmm.
so if you are not a journaler or if you don't like to use voice notes and audio processing, allowing yourself to be intentional with taking yourself out on a date can be really valuable. It can look like watching a movie, lighting a candle, and seeing how you feel in that space by yourself. Or if that feels like a big leap, going to a coffee shop or doing a group activity solo, whether that's like a sip and paint or maybe a pottery class where you're engaging with other people, but you've gone by yourself and allowing yourself to see, do you enjoy your own company?
Hmm.
And so there are so many mindful ways that aren't journaling and audio voice notes or writing or anything that can allow you to tap in and see, what do I enjoy? What will bring me joy in my life?
I love that. I go on self-talk walks where I literally record voice notes where I'm having a conversation with me. And that does it for me. I love to journal, but I think faster than I can write. And so
Mhm.
sometimes I get frustrated with the fact that I can't write fast enough. But it's almost like experiential learning of
Mhm.
your own likes and dislikes and feelings. That's such a cool idea that I've never thought of. And we don't even have time to get into the idea of how uncomfortable people are being by themselves, which is also something to reflect on. But once you have done that inner reflection, then when you are in community with other people, whether that's at a party or a networking event or in conversation one on one, I find that's the next level for me of even understanding who I am and what I do and what I care about is seeing how I react to what other people are saying or the questions they're asking me. So I almost feel like level 1, you and you, that's where you're doing that connection. Level 2 is you and another person, because often I don't really know what I think until somebody brings it up and I have an opportunity to reflect on it. You only know what you know, right? You don't know what you don't know. Any final thoughts for our listeners on connecting with themselves?
It's the best gift that you can give yourself. Just allowing you to be able to enjoy your own company.
Could not agree more. You're with you forever. Day one to
Ever.
day last. Like, it's you. And I will say my life got much better when I started turning inward instead of seeking external validation and external comfort and joy and companionship. And I'm so freaking grateful that I discovered me in here, because now I really like my company and I have a much better understanding of the kind of people I enjoy having that energetic exchange with. And so it's worth it, guys. It is totally worth it. Thank you, Jazzmyn. This was so wonderful. Thank you for sharing it with our listeners.
Of course, thank you so much.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Seeking the Overlap. I would be so grateful if you would take a second to rate, review, and subscribe. It really does help others discover the show. And if you share this episode on social, be sure to tag me at Baily Hancock so I can send you some love. Until next time, happy connecting.